News of the Times. The Liverpool doctor on trial, abortion, deception and death, 1934 and 1935. Welcome to News of the Times. A respected Liverpool doctor, two young women, both dead within days, an empty chloroform bottle, a steel instrument and envelopes stuffed with cash. In 1934, Dr. Samuel Sibbald was charged with 2 counts of willful murder, not for poison or a gun, but for illegal abortions. The press swarmed, the coroner joined the dots, and a jury wrestled with a thorny question: when does a doctor's secret operation become murder? In late 1934 Liverpool, Dr. Samuel Ramsay Sibbald was arrested after 2 women, Catherine Woods and Winifred Falconer, died following clandestine procedures. Newspapers screamed murder, prosecutors argued constructive murder during a felony, and a crowded court heard about cash in envelopes, a reeking bottle of chloroform, and a late-night vigil in Brodie Avenue. We trace the case from arrest to assizes, the legal tightrope between murder and manslaughter, the star witness who was also an accomplice, and the verdict that ruined a career. And in today's end of episode further particulars segment, we take a brief detour to Dublin in the 1930s, where the Derry Journal reported on door knockers that rapped of their own accord, bedclothes that staged nightly escapes, and a nun who had been dead for 20 years but still kept up her social calls. Proof, if any were needed, that the Irish capital had no shortage of lively spirits, some of them without the courtesy to knock first. So, from the house where the bed turned by itself to the courtroom where the tables were very much turned on a certain Liverpool doctor. Settle in, keep a firm hold on your bedclothes, and join us as we uncover the story of the Liverpool doctor on trial, abortion, deception, and death. Background: abortion laws in the UK. A bit of background on the legalities of abortion in the UK prior to this 1934 case. In England and Wales, abortion was criminalised under the Offences Against the Persons Act in 1861, making it illegal to procure or perform one at any stage of pregnancy. The Infant Life Preservation Act of 1929 added the offence of child destruction after 28 weeks gestation. Scotland operated under different common law traditions, with abortion treated as a serious criminal offence without the same statutory framework. In Ireland, the law was even stricter, with abortion banned outright under both statute and religious influence. It was not until the Abortion Act of 1967 that the procedure became legal in certain circumstances in England, Wales and Scotland, but notably not in Northern Ireland until much later. Dr. William Sibbald emerged in the Liverpool Echo reports as a man of outward respectability, but whose professional and personal conduct came under intense scrutiny. In court, he was described as a middle-aged medical man practicing from Rodney Street in Liverpool, carrying himself with the air of someone accustomed to authority. His manner was formal, at times brisk, and he appeared intent on maintaining professional composure even when the evidence turned against him. Witnesses spoke of consultations conducted in a business-like fashion and gave evidence about the fees he charged. The court also heard allegations that he had performed procedures in contravention of the law. Police testimony noted that prior to the case, Sibbald had been found intoxicated in his car. Before the trial would grip Liverpool, there was the arrest. One cold December evening in 1934, police found Dr. Samuel Ramsay Sibbald not in his surgery, but in his car on Warbrek Moor, and what followed was front-page news. At Liverpool Police Court, the 56-year-old Aintree doctor faced 2 charges of wilful murder, one relating to 32-year-old Catherine Woods of Wallasey, the other to 28-year-old Winifred Lettice Falconer of Waterloo. According to police, he had been found in his car the previous night and appeared intoxicated. When charged, he replied simply, "Not guilty of either charge." Sibbald had practiced medicine in the city since 1910, lately turning to the examination of sailors for the Board of Trade and the Shipping Federation. From the Liverpool Echo, the 7th of December, 1934, arrest scene allegations. I saw at once he was drunk. Women's death. Claim of considerable payments to the accused. Dramatic evidence. There was a sensation at Liverpool Police Court today when a Liverpool doctor appeared in the dock on 2 charges of wilful murder. Here is Dr. Samuel Ramsay Sibbald, aged 56, of Aintree. He was charged with the wilful murder of Catherine Woods, aged 32, married, of Wallasey in Liverpool on or about November the 12th, and with the wilful murder of Winifred Lettice Falconer, aged 28, married, of Waterloo in Liverpool on or about November the 19th. Chief Superintendent Moore of Liverpool CID said Dr. Sibbald was seen last night sitting in a car in Warbrek Moor and he was detained. I saw at once that he was drunk, added the superintendent, who said that when charged the doctor replied, "Not guilty of either charge." 2 young women dead within days, both under the care and the signature of the same doctor. Such a coincidence would stir whispers anywhere. To the registrar of deaths, it was something more. It was a red flag. On the 21st of November, Catherine Woods was admitted to the Women's Hospital in Catherine Street, gravely ill. She died 3 days later. The very next day, Winifred Falconer was taken by private ambulance to a Rodney Street nursing home. She survived only a few hours. In each case, Sibbald signed the death certificate. When the second certificate crossed the registrar's desk, he noticed the extraordinary proximity of the 2 deaths, both resulting from abortions in which Sibbald appeared implicated. The coroner was notified, the police followed, and a post-mortem by Professor Dibble revealed the same conclusion: septicemia caused by abortion through instrumental interference, not self-inflicted. Extremely ill. On November the 21st, Mrs. Catherine Woods, who lived with her husband when he was at home from sea, was admitted to the Women's Hospital in Catherine Street, Liverpool, where she had been taken on the instructions of a doctor who had examined her just before. She was extremely ill when admitted and died on November the 24th. On November the 25th, Mrs. Falconer, who lived with her husband at Cambridge Road, Waterloo, was taken in a private ambulance from an address in Brodie Avenue, extremely ill, and removed to a nursing home in Rodney Street, where she died about 3 hours after admission. Remarkable coincidence. Shortly after her death, the accused, Dr. Sibbald, arranged for her to go to the nursing home arrived, and he issued a death certificate. When this certificate was taken by the husband to the Registrar of Deaths in order that the burial might follow, continued Mr. Bishop, the registrar noticed the remarkable coincidence that within about 24 hours 2 women had died as the result of abortions in which the accused appeared to be implicated. The registrar communicated with the coroner. The coroner got in touch with the police, and Professor Dibble was instructed to carry out a post-mortem examination in both cases. He had found that in each case death was due to septicemia following abortions brought on by instrumental interference in the course of pregnancy, and which could not have been self-inflicted. The address on Brodie Avenue was no ordinary home visit. It was a suburban house owned by a family friend and, according to prosecutors, a hidden theatre for the operations themselves. On the 12th of November, Catherine Woods arrived there in good health, although pregnant. Within an hour, Dr. Sibbald visited her, and a considerable sum was said to have changed hands. He attended to her daily. 2 days later, she miscarried. Her condition worsened steadily until friends removed her on the 17th, by which time she was gravely ill, and she died a week later in hospital. Considerable sum. Officers of the Criminal Investigation Department made inquiries, and it was found that on November the 12th, Mrs. Woods was taken to the address in Brodie Avenue, from which the dying woman, Mrs. Falconer, was subsequently removed. Mrs. Woods was pregnant when taken there, but in comparatively good health. She was visited within an hour of her arrival by the accused, and, it was alleged, a considerable sum of money was handed to him. He attended to her at once in a back bedroom. There is evidence that on the 14th she had a miscarriage 2 days after admission. She remained until the 17th, becoming more and more ill, when she was taken away by her friends and was eventually admitted to the place where she died. Questioned later, Dr. Sibbald denied ever seeing Catherine Woods at Brodie Avenue, but prosecutors claimed witnesses placed him at her bedside from the day she arrived until the day she left. 2 days later, another patient, Winifred Falconer, arrived at the same address. Within hours, Sibbald was again in attendance. This time, the payment was said to be even larger. He visited her daily until the 24th, when she became critically ill and was moved to a nursing home, where she died within hours. Even larger sum. Speaking with regard to Mrs. Falconer, Mr. Bishop said that she arrived 2 days after Mrs. Woods had left, and within an hour or two the accused came to the address, and an even larger sum of money was paid to him. The woman was there until the 24th, Mr. Bishop alleged, with the accused attending her daily, and she became extremely ill. The arrest came late at night at 11:55 p.m. Superintendent Hubert Moore spotted Sibbald in a motor car at Warbreck Moor and noted he appeared drunk. Moore and Detective Sergeant Taylor removed him to a police car, and by morning he was sober. He was first charged with the murder of Catherine Woods. Yes, he replied. Told he would also face the same charge for Winifred Falconer, he answered, not guilty on either charge. Bail was refused. Prosecutors made clear that they would present both deaths as a single case and, if possible, introduce evidence of other illegal operations. From the Liverpool Echo, the 14th of December 1934, murder charge against the doctor. £50 and £70 in envelopes. Allegations of the prosecution. Visits to the house. Second doctor report to the coroner. The charges of murder against a Liverpool medical man were further investigated at the Liverpool Police Court today. Prosecutors argued the two deaths were linked. Both women had been treated at the same Brodie Avenue address under near identical circumstances, and both, they alleged, were victims of illegal operations performed by Dr. Sibbald. Miss Morgan, one of the house's occupants, testified that Catherine Woods arrived on 12th of November under the name Miss Ward. Within the hour, Sibbald visited, spoke with her privately, and asked for hot water, soap and towels. He also accepted a sealed envelope containing £50, keeping half and giving the rest to Morgan. 2 days later, Woods miscarried. By the 17th, she was so ill she had to be carried to a car. Told of her removal, Sibbald allegedly remarked, "Thank goodness for that." He initially refused to attend her at home, relenting only when warned another doctor would be called. His visit brought no improvement, and she was admitted to hospital on the 21st. She died 3 days later. On the 19th of November, just 2 days after Woods was removed, Winifred Falconer arrived at the house with her mother. Sibbald met them, assuring the older woman, "Don't worry, madam, she's in good hands. I will take great care of her." He took her to an upstairs room, ordered hot water and towels, and accepted a sealed envelope containing £70 in treasury notes and £5 in bank notes, the equivalent of more than £6,000 today. Over the next 5 days he visited daily. On the 24th, Falconer's condition worsened sharply. That afternoon Miss Morgan noticed a bright steel instrument about 7 inches long in the room. Sibbald stayed through the night, telling others, "I've done my best." A specialist was called the next morning, and Falconer was moved to a Rodney Street nursing home, where she died within hours. With regard to Mrs. Falconer, she arrived at the house on Monday, November the 19th, 2 days after Mrs. Woods had been removed. She arrived in the afternoon, and the prisoner arrived very shortly afterwards. He saw Mrs. Falconer and her mother, and he said to the latter, "Don't worry, madam, she is in good hands. I will take great care of her." Nothing to be sorry about. Mrs. Falconer went to a bedroom and was left alone with the accused. He ordered hot water and towels, and afterwards he was handed a sealed envelope from which he took £70 in treasury notes and £5 in Bank of England notes, value approximately £6,400 in 2025. The mother of this unfortunate lady went upstairs to see her daughter, and the accused remarked, "Now you'll see you have nothing to worry about. She's looking all right." Dr. Sibbald went to the house every day, and on the 24th the patient took a very serious turn. The doctor was 2 hours in a room with her, and shortly afterwards Miss Morgan saw in the room a bright steel instrument about 7 inches long. Dr. Sibbald remained in the house all the afternoon and night. The woman became more ill during the night, and the prisoner was heard to say, I've done my best." After a specialist was called in, she was removed at 9 o'clock the following morning to a nursing home in Rodney Street, where she died 3 or 4 hours after admission. Paperwork set the first alarm bells ringing. Within days, Dr. Sibbald had issued death certificates for 2 women, both young, both recently in his care. The coincidence did not go unnoticed. Death certificates. The fact that the accused had attended to both these women came to light in this way by Dr. Gemmell, who had attended to the woman Woods. He thought it his duty after the death to report the facts to the coroner, who ordered a post-mortem examination. That was on November the 24th. On November the 26th, the husband of Mrs. Falconer, having received a death certificate issued by the accused, went to the registrar of deaths. The latter referred him to the coroner and the coroner's officer, and he noticed that the accused had apparently been concerned with 2 deaths from operations within a few hours of each other. With 2 suspicious deaths linked by paperwork, the coroner moved swiftly. Postmortems were ordered to confirm coincidence or reveal something far darker. Post-mortem examinations. Once more, the coroner ordered a post-mortem examination on the body of Mrs. Falconer. Professor Dibble carried out both examinations, and in each case, death was due to septicemia following an illegal operation. The accused was spoken to by the coroner's officer regarding Mrs. Falconer's death on the 26th, and seen by police the same day about Mrs. Woods. From that time onwards, he denied ever seeing Woods at the address in Brodie Avenue, claiming the first time he saw her was in Canning Street. After Wood's death at Brodie Avenue, he discussed the matter with Miss Morgan, his accomplice, and took away a steel instrument she handed him. Sibbald told Miss Morgan he had informed the coroner's office that he was in his Canning Place surgery when summoned to Canning Street, where he found a girl I did not know. He stressed that they must stick to that story, insisting it would keep them safe. 2 days after Falconer's death, he told another witness, the man who had driven Woods to and from Brodie Avenue, to remember he knew nothing about the house. On the 6th of December, Superintendent Moore and Detective Sergeant Taylor arrested him. The Crown's case hinged on Miss Morgan, who ran the Brodie Avenue house where the alleged operations took place. For years, she had worked with Sibbald, providing premises and patient care. Now her testimony would expose him, or implicate herself. Evidence called. The first witness was Miss Morgan of Brodie Avenue, who said she had known the accused for 6 years. About November the 8th or 9th, a Miss Smith and a Miss Ward called. She had a conversation with them. Mrs. Falconer called the day after, and on November the 9th, she saw Dr. Sibbald. Referring to an envelope handed to her by Miss Ward's companion on November the 12th, she said she handed Dr. Sibbald a sealed envelope. He opened it, and it contained £50, and he handed her half. Carried out of house. Miss Ward, whose real name was Miss Wood, left Brodie Avenue on November the 17th. She was carried out of the house by Mr. Redmond. Dr. Sibbald stayed over the weekend, and on the Sunday, as the result of a phone call from Miss Smith, she drove to Dr. Sibbald to Canning Street. Miss Falconer came to the witness's house in Brodie Avenue on the Monday, and Dr. Sibbald came in the afternoon and went to the bedroom where she was with her mother. He had his coat off and his sleeves rolled up. About 5 or 10 minutes later, he came upstairs. She handed him a sealed envelope given to her by Mrs. Falconer. It contained £70, and he gave her half. On Sunday, November the 25th, Dr. Sibbald rang her up and said, "Miss Ward has died." He also said, "Mrs. Falconer has died." Very unfortunate. It was said it was very unfortunate about Miss Ward and Mrs. Falconer. To the witness he said, "You will have nothing to worry about. You will be quite all right." Dr. Sibbald asked if she had cleared up the room. She did so and handed the instrument to the accused. If Miss Morgan's account laid the framework of events inside the Brodie Avenue house, the next witness brought the emotional weight of the case into full view. Mrs. Bertha Falconer, mother of Mrs. Falconer, had been present for much of her daughter's final days, and her testimony was both deeply personal and damning. From the Liverpool Echo, the 21st of December 1934. Tragic story by a mother. Doctor charged with murder. Her long vigil. Mrs. Bertha Falconer, mother of Mrs. Falconer from Waterloo, was the next witness, a tragic figure in black. She gave her evidence under stress of considerable emotion. November the 11th. After her daughter had made a communication to her, she went to a house in Brodie Avenue. She went again on November the 19th, and her daughter was in bed. After about half an hour, Dr. Sibbald arrived and was brought into the bedroom by Miss Morgan. I said to him, "My daughter is my all. I don't like this. It is very much against my wish." Dr. Sibbald's reply was, "Do not worry, madam. I will take great care of her. She is in good hands." Next day she called and found that her daughter was very fretful. "I returned that night," continued Mrs. Falconer, "taking some luggage with me, and I slept in a chair in my daughter's room. Towards morning I noticed that she had a temperature." Doctor's long vigil. During the morning I went out, returning about midday. Dr. Sibbald arrived. He again assured me that there was nothing to worry about. I went upstairs and saw my daughter, and she appeared to be very ill. I never left her, the doctor stayed a long time. In fact, he never left the house from 2 o'clock in the afternoon until the following morning, when an ambulance came to take my daughter away. Dr. Sibbald saw my daughter continually, and I spoke to him about her, but he persisted that there was no fear. Mrs. Falconer described how during an examination by the accused, she saw her daughter weaken and her colour change. "I saw the doctor and the woman look at one another, and she said, and I asked what was wrong," Dr. Sibbald said. "I've done my best. I requested a specialist at once. I was frantic. I may have been rude to him. After a little while, a specialist, Dr. Nuttall, arrived. He was very quick. I remained downstairs while Dr. Nuttall and Dr. Sibbald were upstairs. When Dr. Nuttall left, I remained at my daughter's side all through the night. She was removed next morning to the nursing home at 36 Rodney Street. I went with her, but I was told I could not stay. That was the last time I saw my daughter alive." Doctor's evidence. Dr. H.C.W. Nuttall, 78 Rodney Street, said he had known the accused for some year. Just after midnight on November the 25th, he had a telephone message from the accused, who said he was attending a case and was not certain whether the patient had peritonitis or not. Accused said the case had been one of threatened abortion, and the witness went to 167 Brodie Avenue. The patient was obviously very ill, and it was extremely difficult to say exactly what she was suffering from. "I'm not a gynecologist," said Dr. Nuttall, and I accepted Dr. Sibbald's history of the case. I understood she had no sleep for 2 or 3 nights. I gave her morphia. The next morning I had her removed to the nursing home at 36A Rodney Street. Dr. Nuttall went on, "I ordered a blood transfusion the next morning. I went out to obtain a special prescription, and on my return I found she had collapsed. I telephoned for Dr. Sybil and told him I thought he should come along. I was called to the patient while I was speaking and found her dying. She died while I was there. The courtroom next turned to the scientific findings. Postmortems by University of Liverpool experts stripped away any ambiguity. Miss Wood's perforation, septic peritonitis, general septicemia, all consistent with the use of an instrument. Mrs. Falconer, hemorrhage, general septic infection, again suspected from the passage of an instrument. Then came a curious detail. The coroner recalled a phone call from Dr. Sybold himself, in which the accused voiced unease over his own findings and even asked whether he had been right in issuing the certificate at all. Inspector Gleeson of the coroner's department said he received a call from a man who gave the name of Dr. Sybold, referring to Mrs. Falconer's case. Sybold said, "It is a straightforward case. I gave my certificate. I suppose I was right in doing so." What is wrong with the case? How did it come about? These things worry you, you know. Gleeson told him the coroner had to make inquiries to satisfy himself. Sybold replied that he had been called to the case. The prosecution's final gambit was to call two women who claimed to have undergone illegal operations at Dr. Sybold's hands and survived. It was a double-edged move. Their testimony supported the charge of unlawful practice, but also showed that such procedures did not inevitably lead to death. The defence seized on the opening. Mr. Clothier told the jury that the spectre of murder had evaporated. This was not poisoning in secret or violence upon an unsuspecting victim, but, if anything, a case of manslaughter, and that alone. A manslaughter conviction, he reminded them, would still be a social death for any doctor, ending his career and reputation. But without proof of a guilty intent, there could be no murder. When Sybold took the stand, Clothier promised he would admit to inducing Mrs. Falconer's miscarriage, but only, he would insist, because it was absolutely essential for her health. Other doctors, Clothier said, would support that view. From the Liverpool Echo, the 6th of February 1935, defence in city doctor charge, all question of murder has gone. At the conclusion of the case for the prosecution, Mr. Clothier for the defence, addressing the jury, said the term murder usually suggested some act of violence or some secret and treacherous poisoning perpetrated against the will of an unsuspecting victim. The charge in this case stood in a very different category. From those two answers of medical men, I venture to submit that there can now be no question of any murder by the prisoner. Social death. His offence, if any, is that of manslaughter. I need hardly say that a conviction for manslaughter is almost as grave in the case of a doctor as a conviction for murder. A conviction for manslaughter means at least social death. He is irretrievably ruined if so convinced and convicted. He stated, therefore, I do not wish you to relax in any way your vigilance in examining the evidence merely because the charge of murder is hardly sustainable, and that you are only, in my submission, now trying the case for the aspect of manslaughter alone. Absolutely necessary. The only issue, said Mr. Clothier, is the intention with which Dr. Sybold did certain things. Dr. Sybold will tell you when he comes into the box that he did ultimately bring about the miscarriage of Mrs. Falconer, and that he did it not only for a lawful purpose, but because it was, in his view, absolutely essential. Mr. Clothier said he would call doctors who would say that Dr. Sibbald's treatment was the proper one, and wound up his submission dramatically by saying, "The prosecution is not within 10 miles of proving my guilty intent on the part of Dr. Sibbald." After days of harrowing testimony and argument, Judge Singleton's summing up ran to 3.5 hours. His direction to the jury was clear. If they were satisfied that Dr. Sibbald's actions met the legal threshold, the proper verdict was one of manslaughter. The jury returned that verdict. Sibbald, pale and drawn from the strain, offered no words before sentence. 5 years penal servitude was imposed. Calmly, he acknowledged a small group in the public gallery before being led away. Other charges remained on file. The judge remarked that the case had been a long and anxious one. Thus ended one of Liverpool's more notorious medical trials, a case that blurred the lines between professional judgment and criminal culpability. In the eyes of the court, Sibbald's skill could not excuse the fatal outcome, nor the illegality of the act itself. His conviction served as both punishment and a warning that in matters of life and death and the law, intent is rarely enough to outweigh consequence. Further particulars. While modern papers may fret over potholes and council tax, the press of the 1930s still found time for a decent ghost story, and in Dublin the supernatural appeared to be in full employment. The Derry Journal dutifully recorded a fine selection of restless spirits, bedclothes with a mind of their own, and other uninvited house guests, all presented with the straight-faced seriousness of a shipping forecast. From the Derry Journal, the 21st of January 1935, Dublin haunted houses, strange stories of old phantoms. The curious manifestations of ghosts in Dublin houses was the theme of a lecture delivered by Mrs. Trenner Waddock to the Old Dublin Society. The lecturer told of the Georgian house in Duke Street, where in the 90s, when her great-uncle was on his deathbed, invisible hands set the various door knockers going, and the din in the darkness was swelled by similarly inexplicable ringing of the house bells. To the great-uncle's nurse one night, disturbed by the mysterious knocking, there appeared the spirit of one Kitty, which subsequently vanished through a window. Then, as a child, the lecturer herself later heard distinctly the voices of her dead great-aunt calling through the house a favourite name, and with the frightened white-faced aunt, who had also heard, she fled to the safer side of the front door. Ungentle spirits in this house had always been wont, in a particular top room, to turn the bed round and whip off the coverings. Two sceptical youths who insisted on sleeping in the unpopular room were next morning found asleep in the drawing room. They were both loathed to speak, but intimated that they had been rudely ejected from their chosen sleeping place. In Clarendon Street 60 years ago, there was a peculiar happening in a house. A shower of stones which broke the windows and littered the floor inside could not be seen to be thrown by mortal means. Large crowds gathered and saw the phenomenon actually occur over a period of many minutes. It was discovered later that a man who had been in the house a short time previously died about the time of the mysterious event. A gentleman named Cornell was the ghostly tenant of a house in Upper Camden Street. Once he had owned it. After death, the story runs, he appeared in spectral form and mentioned that he so loved his former home that he intended to remain in there forever. The most impressive story of the lecturer's remarkable collection was that of the girl pupil of a famous college outside Dublin, who stepped inside and opened a door for a strange nun. A girl companion could not see the apparition. It disappeared, but the description was found to coincide with that of a nun now 20 years dead. The lecturer offered no explanation of the apparently supernatural sights, and found she had described, and the audience was left with Mr. Shakespeare saying, "There are more things in heaven and earth." Ahem! Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, the evening's tale has drawn to a close. Should it have fallen short of your expectations, I regret to inform you the script writer is most inconveniently indisposed. Indeed, they appear to have left quite without leaving forwarding instructions. However, if you found the proceedings agreeable, it would be considered most proper and deeply appreciative if you were to like, subscribe and share, ideally with your acquaintances, correspondents and any guests of distinction or curiosity. Such gestures not only maintain the smooth running of this establishment, but also serve to gently pacify the temperamental force of the YouTube algorithm, which, if I may say, can be frightfully particular. I shall see to it your support is noted in the household ledger. And for those inclined to support independent creators, may we invite you to peruse our Patreon. Over 600 documentaries spanning Georgian, Victorian and Edwardian times, plus a free 1-week trial to gorge yourself on true crime, scandal and nostalgia, and the occasional ill-advised attempt at British humour, best enjoyed with a pot of tea and a plate of biscuits. This has been News of the Times, and I am Robin Coles, occasional archivist, licensed whisperer of gloomy Victorian staircases, and Woolston's Deputy Inspector of unattended bowler hats. And to the last person leaving, do be sure to remember to close the door firmly. You never know who or what might follow you home.